How's it going, everybody? Today I wanted to talk about Autopilot a little bit, and well, some of the limitations you find out after driving it for a long time. Now, Autopilot is by far the best lane keeping and I guess radar control, speed control in any car on this planet. It makes it very easy to believe that full self-driving is only, a couple weeks away or a couple months away. It's very, very good. However, there are some limits or some annoyances. Let me wind this window up here. Some annoyances when using it. One thing is really because it's so good that it makes these annoyances more pronounced. One thing is the car is coming in front of you. So pretty much every other car does this, but knowing how good Autopilot is kind of makes this feels like it shouldn't do this. When a car comes in front of you or is cutting in the lane before you, Autopilot doesn't slow up enough to let that person in, or it waits till the last minute before it does slow down. Now it will occasionally let the car in. I don't know how it tells that, because most time it doesn't work that effectively. But it will do that sometimes. But what it mostly does is when a car comes in front of you, it just, until the car is like all the way in your lane, it's going up on them until it at the last second jams on the brakes. Well, I shouldn't say it jams on the brakes, but it does brake up harder than I would. And generally how I like to drive is very smooth, so I don't need to be pressing brakes at all, and you don't want to have any harsh accelerations or decelerations. So that's what I expect, future driving to be like, and that's what it feels like Autopilot should already be able to do, based on what it has already shown that it can do. So that's one thing I find a little annoying. The other thing, and this one, I'm not sure if it's related to Autopilot or full self-driving. They do work in concert, but they are separate features. So, occasionally, a little too occasionally, in fact, when self-driving or in Autopilot, it will break up like there's a car in front of it. And I find this to most commonly happen in two situations. One, well, all situations is basically that there's a shadow somewhere. But what causes the shadow could be different. So a lot of times I see overpasses. It seems like the shadow caused by the change in light between the overpass shadow and the sun shadow. That seems to trigger it a lot to me. And like if you're driving into the sun, like direct sunlight coming from the horizon, seems to just, and that does more than just slow down the car. That does all kinds of funky things. So the cameras, I believe, are either getting messed with by glare or shadows or something. And what makes me believe this even more is that the one accident that the Autopilot, I think, may actually be responsible for was the one where it crashed into a blue truck. And they're saying that the blue truck it thought was the sky. I can't confirm that because I don't know what I didn't see what Tesla said about it. But if you've driven these things for a while on Autopilot excessively, like I have, you will pick up on that. Seems plausible because it does seem it's like like somebody's eye. Sometimes you see stuff that's not quite how you imagine it, or you're blinded by the freaking sun shining in your eye. Which is why I partially don't understand why Elon is against or so hardcore on believing that LiDAR is not the way to go. And while I do believe that it may not be the way to go in the future, at least with the cameras we currently have, I think it is the way to go now. Because I see, like I said, those shadows things, pretty common. But it's more than that. It just seems to be a little too common to be just some software glitch, because they fix those so regularly that they would have caught this by now. So I believe it really is just the shadows tricking the car or the camera in the AI system into thinking that there's a car there, and so it will slow down. It won't slam on the brakes necessarily, but it will slow down like there's a car coming in the lane in front of it, I think, before it realizes that there's not, and then it'll get back up to speed. But it's very odd at times, because you'll be going on the highway, clear highway, and then all of a sudden it'll break up and you're like, what is going on? And you're just kind of thrown for a little bit there. It also is funky when it happens when you're showing somebody the Autopilot feature, because then you have to explain to them these nuances. And while they don't detract from the spectacular Autopilot, they do. If you don't know, if you haven't been driving the car and already got all that, you already know for a fact this is the best on the planet, you may be thrown off by it, or turned off by it even, or at least have a comment here and there. But I think that's all I'm going to talk about for right now. But I thought that's something that they really need to address. I mean, it's been going on for a long time now, since I've had this car. And some updates seem to improve it, and some updates seem to break it. So it doesn't seem to be a consistent thing. Anyway, catch you in the next one. If you like the videos, subscribe and give it a thumbs up. Talk to you in the next one.